Thanks, Steve. Hello. Good afternoon. Thanks for being here today. I have to say, just like Kimberly said, that she was a roadblock between her discussion or her presentation and lunch. I feel like I'm the roadblock between lunch and a cat nap. So if I see anybody nodding their heads, or like, I might just come out there and tap you on the shoulder. I first want to thank Steve Smith and Andrew Eklund, the president and CEO of Cicerone, for inviting me to be here today. I, too, am very new to the medical community, and I have a history, obviously, in my career of strategic partnerships and multicultural marketing. What I would say, though, rather than go through it, you can find that on my bio on the website, but I never thought that I'd be here when I first started my career with the Minnesota Timberwolves in the NBA in strategic partnerships and marketing, and I was, center court trying to fill cheeks and seats, that I'd be talking about how we are garnering donor recruitment with a company like Be The Match. So I am humbled, actually, to be a part of the organization, and I'm thrilled to be here to present to you what we're doing in our space. I think you'll find that it's very innovative, and it's just work in progress, for sure. So before I begin, how many hands, who knows, or who's heard of the National Marrow Donor Program? Okay, great. And who's heard of Be The Match? And who knew that the National Marrow Donor Program was Be The Match? Nobody's raising their hand. So that's amazing. So we obviously are consistently in the battle of a 30-year organization battling a brand awareness challenge. And not only that, but then once we get the word out about what we do, convincing people why they should be interested. So I'm going to take you through some of the ways in which it's a very grassroots presentation. I don't have a lot of eye candy. I have a lot of actual work behind the scenes of building our campaign. I hope next year when I'm back, I can show you a lot of that eye candy, because we're in the throes of really creating a lot of it, although we do have some proven techniques we've been doing through digital media. But the grassroots portion is in work in progress right now. So our mission is that we save lives through cell therapy. And our vision is to democratize cell therapy for equal outcomes for all. We have approximately 8.5 million donors registered on our registry. We've had, in the last year, in 2017, 9,500 formal searches made, so that when there is somebody who has a blood disease, lymphoma, leukemia, sickle cell, and they go to the doctor, and they provided options, and a transplant is one of those options. They can formalize a search, and so that's where that number comes from. And out of those searches, we had 6,100 transplants in 2017. Since our inception 30 years ago, we have resulted in 86,000 transplants. And on the left is just a little bit, or I'm sorry, on your right is just a little bit more about our organization. Why we exist is to provide people access to unrelated bone marrow transplants. Approximately 70% of the population who are diagnosed with a blood disease do not have what you call a related match. So somebody in your family who could donate a stem cell or bone marrow to cure your disease. 30% do. So the 70% that go to a formal search our registry. The doctors research it, and we have a process that basically takes anybody through whether or not they'll find a perfect match to be called to donate. And so this past year, on an average, 18,000 people are searching consistently. And if I were to go back to the fact that we had over 6,000 transplants last year, that means that 2/3 of the base are not able to find a match. The day that we could say that we are serving 18,000 is the day that I don't have a job. which is something that we talk about all the time because that would be a really good thing. Why is it that we are in this situation? There are many reasons. There are many hurdles, barriers, if you will. Some are financial. Some are related to their insurance or what have you, which is somewhat financial. But primarily, where we're at with our registry base and the population across the country is that the lack of finding a match is based on your background. And so as you can see, African American or Black communities have a 23% chance in finding a match. And as you go through the other ethnicities here, Asian Pacific Islander, Hispanic, American Indian, or Alaska Native, the numbers increase. And then obviously as a Caucasian patient, the chances are 77%. And we know that there are a lot of reasons why we're at this place. A lot of it is education. A lot of it is the fact that we're not directing our marketing in a way that is effective for the communities that are lacking matches. And so that's how we have really structured our strategic objective going into our fiscal next year. We've done a lot of learning, and I'm going to share a lot of that with you today. But the premise is that the Be the Match registry is not adequately reflective of the U.S. population, and this has led to mismatched transplant rates greater than 40% in underserved populations. So that is what we are working on that is what we're living on to really come up with how we're going to reach ethnically diverse communities. The idea is to determine the optimal size and composition of the registry and launch a campaign that expedites that level of quality participation. So again, I'm not showing you a lot of creative. I'm really showing you the tactical and structured guidelines. I'm not going to go through every slide and read all the copy, but the basis of what we're building on is the fact that we need to build awareness, we need to educate, and then we need to try to convert after we've done the first two. So based on that, our plans are focused on different ethnic backgrounds, a lot of research and focus group work, our findings, and then determining the right location and opportunities to reach our target audiences. So we have two areas that we've spent the last year creating case studies that I'm going to be taking you through. To share a little bit about our focus group results. So our Director of Marketing Insights, Laura Alexander, and I spent the last year touring the country, basically, spending a lot of time on college campuses, everywhere from going to a Texas Tech, to the University of Alabama, to the University of Memphis, University of Illinois, Fresno State, Cal Berkeley, University of North Carolina, you name it, as well as local markets like DC, Philly, Atlanta, Charlotte. And we zeroed in on the African American and Black population, mainly because that is the lowest percentage right now, knowing that we are evolving into our Hispanic and other communities, as I shared in a previous slide. So here were the four key really takeaways, the nuggets that we're working on when it comes to our marketing and grassroots programs. No parachuting in. If you can guess what that is, that means don't just come in on a parachute, do an event, and then leave and think that you've been able to do your justice and telling us why it's so important to join the registry. Meet us where we are. Become one of the community, which is actually a commitment to the community, but understand our challenges, understand some of the misnomers, understand why there's been distrust in the healthcare community, and then talk to us about our challenges and let us know that you understand who we are and why we need a little bit of more information. And really that leads to just educating and building trust. So based on those four focus or those insights, we've actually evolved into how we're realizing we can't customize, we have to customize. There's no program that fits all, right? So it has to be customized to each marketplace and each audience. So this is just a snapshot of how we're actually thinking about how we engage the various communities. And again, we're evolving these communities, so it's not as if we have our full solution today to present. And actually, the African Americans are pretty much where we're really focused, and we're evolving into our Hispanic communities in the next 12 months. But ultimately, what we've learned, and there are a lot of other things, but this is kind of just, again, the nugget or the takeaway, is that when it comes to healthcare in the Latino Hispanic community, that it's really based on community roots. They want to know what their community is doing and welcome the opportunity to share with our community about what they're learning and hear from others in their community about what makes a difference to them and what counts. In the African American and Black communities, it's really about I'm going to take care of my own self-care. I'm the one that I can rely on, and that's what I know. And I'm going to do my own research and make my own decisions. And then in the API world, we're learning, and again, we haven't really even embarked on a lot of the API research. We're about to do that starting in January of 2019. But what we know is that give us qualitative and quantitative results, tell us some test results, and we can base our decision on what our doctor might share based on test results. And so this is how we are moving forward with putting together our integrated campaigns. And I truly, when I say integrated, that's what this slide is representing. We are combining partnerships with paid digital, recruitment events, student organizations, micro-influencers, public relations, and awareness events to build our campaigns. Now, based on that, the one thing that makes us unique, and we did hear from Cindy a lot about using your patients in your marketing. Our content, our patients who are searching and have the likelihood of dying, our donors who have stepped up and made the donation and have actually made this superhero experience happen, and our transplant recipients who now are on the other side of their illness and can talk about it, that's our content. That's what we use. There's nothing else. There's nothing else that we need to say. So I'm going to share a story about Camille and how we're taking it into a particular college demographic. Sorry, every time I see one of our stories, I start crying, and I've seen it all the time. So I know, and I am. Sorry about that. I know, actually, Steve said, if you make a Manhattanite cry, then I've done my job. I'm like, all right, I'll try to do that, Steve. Is that right, Manhattanite?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. And I used to live here, but I have forgotten. All right, so here's just kind of a high level of how we created the foundation for our HBCU campaign. And for those of you who may not be familiar with what an HBCU is, it's a historically black college and university. And there are hundreds of HBCUs, or maybe about 100. Right now, it doesn't come to me, but there are many, many HBCUs across the country. And we, we started last fall with focus groups. And we went on into the spring to do some test piloting on some campuses, and now we are in full swing. So be present, be a part of the community, provide education. One of the things that we learned last year was that by the way, our target audience, our registry is comprised of donors from the ages of 18 to 61, okay? Our target audience is primarily 18 to 34. Not to say that we don't welcome people who are interested in being on the registry who skew older than that, but due to medical reasons and just how cells can support 100% recovery, the 18 to 34 target audience is really key for us. So therefore, the college campuses are even that much more important because the 18 to 24 age group is really imperative for us to educate and get on our registry. So one of the things that we learned was that, don't give us FAQs. Our mom and our dad want FAQs. It's myth and facts. And so it sounds really funny, but we've been starting to instill a lot of creative components around myths and facts, and it's helping. It's supporting what they want to hear and how they want to hear it. Video is always the most preferred way, which is what we are doing. Our world is video. And be relevant. Digital platforms that they follow, we know, depending on your ethnic background and where you live and what kind of college campus it may be, if it's an HBCU or a Haku school, which is the Hispanic version of HBCUs, they all have different levels of social media platforms that they visit and utilize. So we're learning that as we go right now. And then influencers, this is key. In terms of finding the right people who can help us share our story. So story content, this is king. This is just a very small example. I mean, Brandon, Lauren, they're both incredible people. Their stories are amazing. They've donated. We have fantastic content that I wanted to share, but Steve said, you got to keep it short. So I would be happy to share it at some point if I send it out to all of you, but just amazing stories. They travel with us. Actually, Lauren was just hired to be an intern. We actually just created an internship program with our HBCUs. We've hired 6 interns to be our influencers and our advocates on campuses. We just did our training last Tuesday night, and they are staff members, and they're ready to go, and they really have our mission at heart. And then Sheldon and Camille, you just saw Camille. I mean, Sheldon's been searching for 5 years. He was on Good Morning America with us. He was just at our office. We did an Instagram story with him live. It was amazing. Myths and facts, again, a video that we've created in a PSA about just the disparity of what's, the reality of the disparity of our registry. So content is king. So again, I'm not going to go through all of it, but I'm really trying to emphasize to you what it takes to build a very effective and grassroots campaign with your components of earned, owned, and paid media. We have grown from, I've been with Be The Match for about 2 years now. About a year and a half ago, we had 1 PR person, and now we have a team of 5, half PR, media and PR, the other half social media, and then we have consistently 2 interns on each side of the house that we rotate usually every 6 months. So we have fresh people coming in off of school or during their college program that bring us amazing ideas. They're conducting social listening. We charge them with community management, which is a huge part of our strategy, because you have to really be listening to what's being said about donation process, some of the myths and facts, so that we can respond effectively, or we let the talk go on. Social media is a huge part of our growth strategy and our effectiveness organically. So getting back to earned, I talked a little bit about the fact that once we have somebody, a story, whether it's Sheldon or it's Camille, that's what we do, is we push it out and we create relationships with various on-campus outlets, creating desk side interviews, because what happens is it catches on fire, and then that earned media just starts to evolve. We develop relationship with micro-influencers, whether they're football players. We have a gentleman by the name of Derek McCartney who is out in Colorado. We shared his story last year. It took off with ESPN, and we're actually going to be bringing him back this Saturday night to share his story again. So he is a micro-influencer. He donated, and he is somebody that is in his community, in football, and has an amazing story. And then partnerships. We we reach out and we talk to various professors, various student groups, and we try to influence the class curriculum. We plan on doing this even more so as we evolve our strategy on college campuses as well as at the high school level. When it comes to our own strategies, as I mentioned to you, our social media, our organic social is something that we're watching it, we have, like daily stand-ups where we're talking about what's going on with social. If something popped at 9 o'clock the night before, we're all over it to figure out if we should engage some paid around the social. Shareable photo opportunities are huge. We do a ton around Snapchat filters in localized communities when we're doing events, football games. I can't say enough about the ways in which, digital photographs are shared, and that alone creates a buzz and the ability to grow your brand and grow your story. Constituent emails, we do a lot with lead nurture emails. We have a team. I know that there's been a lot of reference around the journey of a consumer. Journey mapping is something that we're evolving in terms of when somebody comes in and then how we continue to nurture them. And then we always are consistent about creating web properties so that people can see a story and then go to our website to understand anything that they want to learn about our efforts. So again, here are some other elements compared to the owned site. I'm going to kind of buzz through this because I know I'm going to be running out of time soon, which I have so much to share, and so I tried to really be very careful about not having too much on here. But this is a really crucial part of our strategy and what has worked. Our digital media efforts with various social platforms through the help of some of our paid media friends at Cicerone has evolved a lot of our stories, many, many stories. I mean, I want to say 25 stories over the last year into actual registrations of donors who see our consistency in the way that we're marketing our efforts and decide, yes, I'm going to register. And our numbers have gone from, I would say, roughly 400 to 500 registrations a day this time last year to roughly 1,500 a day, give or take. And a lot of it is due to the paid strategies that we have. And the out-of-home. We know that between the digital media and out-of-home, that this is where a lot of our target audiences live and are, and that's how we reach them. And so we're doing more in the out-of-home, we're starting to, than we ever have. I know it sounds kind of like old school, but when you have an integrated campaign, you really need to understand how to be localized as well as, digitally World Wide Web. So, and then again, the paid partnerships, I'm not going to go as much into that right now just because I want to continue. Here's an example of what we want to evolve our branding with some activation components just to make it a really awesome experience. Whether we have live music, we have a lot of our metrics, our branding and so forth. We're evolving what we look like on campus. This is an example, again, more of just how we can use some digital media components in an event activation and combine it into our social media campaigns, again, more out of home. And then some of our partnerships, the bullets that are bold are partnerships we're actually working in terms of getting to know executives or just even people that we know because we have relationships to figure out what's the best way to work with becoming a part of their community and ingrain our efforts with them. And then moving into local markets. This is where we are evolving mainly our Hispanic efforts right now. We're targeting these 5 markets, and we are doing a lot of integrated marketing around activations and events. And again, just like I showed you with the first kind of integrated picture, this is how we look at an education and registration event in a particular market. And with that, I'm going to share a story that we are now making national, I guess. But this is Sophia, and I'll just go ahead and... Sophia's legacy lives on. Her dad is a huge, huge advocate and works with us immensely on interviews. And we have pushed her story out tremendously through the help of our owned and our paid channels. And you can just see here some of in the most recent months, we've had some amazing results through Facebook and Instagram with our video. And as you can see, registration clicks on Facebook, 920, engagements, 15,000. The metrics just really speak to themselves. And then most recently, when I just did a little check before I came here, we've been able to find over 19,000 new donors. And what's so amazing about it is that her story is really helping our diversity increase. I mean, traditionally right now, our numbers have been around 25% through our online channels, and out of the 19,000, we're seeing a much higher number there, and our goal for next year is to hit 40,000. So we're really excited about what's been happening using such a sad story. And then just a couple of other partners that we're talking to we are actually working with Univision and Media Planet. We are in Chicago, LA, as I mentioned, doing a lot of local market work. We have some DJs and influencers that we're working with that are paid. We try to find people who have close connections and ties, but sometimes it's not always the case. So we are figuring out if this is going to work to be authentic. And some of our creative. And then we've just been working, actually, with LULAC. We've been the League of United Latin American Citizens. I've attended a conference that they hosted this summer. We were just at an event in LA with them. So again, we're getting ingrained in the Hispanic community and meeting Hispanics where they are. And then these will be others that we're looking to consider. And this is just an example of our booth where we did a lot of, we tried to do some, just kind of cross-marketing and trying to, just become a little bit more ingrained by and we're not trying to put everything in Spanish because that's not who we are either, but we're trying to meet Hispanics where they are and also, be who we are. So it's kind of a combination. So to sum it all up, aligning and focus and charting your course. Figure out through your focus group findings, target your plan on the audience that you're looking to define, determine the location and the opportunities, figure out where you want to be. You need to engage consumers with relevant content and a series of targeted media solutions. It's not just one, it's an integrated effort. Invest and plan around digital and video targeted content. Influencer, can't speak enough how key that is through Facebook, Instagram, a partner like Univision. Create memorable events and interactive experiences and build grassroots around realistic goals and expectations. I'm telling you, this is not easy. We are not seeing thousands and thousands of people on college campuses registering, all at once. It's a slow drip process. It's getting ingrained with their community and just hiring interns and becoming a part of what's going on. With that, thank you. Any questions?
Amy, thanks very much. Yeah, we have time for questions. Anybody have questions of Amy? Are you doing any attribution modeling? Since you're doing such a multi-channel effort, are you to the point yet where you're able at least be able to attribute some of this to particular channels?
Absolutely. We have we can see all on the back end of all of our video content posts through social and our paid efforts. Absolutely. We can track through what we call UTM codes and promo codes, everything down to a particular event or what we call a live drive in our field. We have about 100 plus people who actually work in the field and conduct events every day. So yes, when it comes to that broad funnel, that when you're building a brand and you're trying to reach the masses, it's a little bit harder to create that attribution, number. But we continue to talk about it and try to figure out how we get there, and we will.
Do you manage the social influencer piece in-house?
We do. Our social team is very much. I actually, when I work with that team, I at our galas, I'll buy a table and I'll say, you go into New York and you invite and YouTube influencer, you invite any influencer that will listen to you and might have a close tie to our mission. And our team's been doing that, and it's working. And we've had some amazing campaigns go viral with our influencers. I wish I had more time, because there's some amazing results we've had with some of our influencers. So yes.
Amy, thanks very much.
Yep, thank you.
And believe me, Amy went easy on you, because I've seen the other creative, and you would spend the afternoon crying. So we want to, is social media